Sincere greetings to the dear audience of our Africa Bridge program YouTube TV series. This is your brother, Ambassador Isa Bokar C. On our program today, we are going to look at underlying factors that cause failure within the service industry, particularly the civil service, in least developed countries, some of whom are in sub-Saharan Africa, and then scaling it down to a country where I am from. But we can go across the board also to make comparisons and then detect similarities, where liturgy is the identity card of functionality within these institutions. You see, there is a slippery and a precarious borderline, I would call it, between what is job security and service within responsibility that is impartial and unbiased. Most of our civil servants are usually more royal than the king when it comes to supporting an establishment or an executive by blindly doing so simply because they want to keep their jobs or they want to remain within the sphere of bourgeoisie in quotes. From the time that colonialism ended to this day, we have been repeating the same cycle. It is like the huge wheels of a big machine rotating in mud, staining the machine, staining the engineer, staining the driver, and staining the community. Yet the machine is making a lot of noise. That's what some of us call thundering blunders. We must be ready to face these so-called technocrats, these so-called experts within structures of governments that are running the show, particularly in West Africa. Come to look at it, the same structures are there, but those structures, instead of feeding on efficiency, they feed on deficiency. Now, the deficiencies within the functionality of these institutions is what make our nations fail. Most of the people who are hired, calling themselves experienced technocrats, their experience stems from longevity, having stayed there so long, but repeating the same thundering blunders. It is the same archaic methodology or modus operandi we see. These are the people that I call civil servants of suits, neckties, styles within the sphere of bourgeoisie. Those are not people who will stand up against a structure, whether it is against the executive, legislature, or the judiciary, where the interest of the masses calls for it. No. They see it as an opportunity to be in the service industry, to exploit the service industry to their advantage. Look out for scholarships for your children and for the children of your kin or those within your circle. Is a hegemony of a lobby syndicate They are the worst survivors anybody can see. And any government that comes in, they will prepare a flowery structure for you, give it to you, you believe that is the best, when actually if you look at it, it is all going to serve them. What is hereditary in this service industry is also very bad. Most of them, when it is about projects, they look for people close to them. Some people are talking about kickbacks. There are deeper kickbacks that you may not even understand how it is done. Some kickbacks are immediate. The envelope or what is posted into the bank account. But there are other kickbacks, they are even worse. The envelope is part of it. What is wired into the bank account is part of it. But also, hiring people that are associated with those people you share these projects with is part of it. Therefore, you the one doing it, you will make sure that somebody close to you, your son or your daughter, is fixed within the industry. And the daughters and the sons of those people are also fixed within the industry. Therefore, when you retire, it will be a continuity of the culture of a lobby syndicate within those thundering blunders they are calling development plans, when actually it is not. We must be ready to identify the toxic nature of these so-called technocrats within the service industry. If not, we are going to be in it for a long, long time to be able to understand how to effect system change. Okay? These are the very people who design the laws, who will go on the ground, prepare documents, prepare things, give it to National Assembly members. Some of them are not even in the very inner circle as far as waking up to go to work, but they are the destructive shadow government, the destructive shadow cabinet. And then people wouldn't know how is all this happening, to a point where it will be difficult to stop it, because you will always concentrate on the politician. The best way to make a system change is not even to change the government. No, the government can stay. But you have to be ready to understand how to sensitize and educate, particularly when a government is newly comes to power. They need to understand, most of these governments that come to power, there is no president that will say, let me fail when they lead. No. But these so-called technocrats, these so-called heads of parastatals, institutions, like in the case of the Gambia Ports Authority, Gambia Civil Aviation Authority, Gambia Ferry Services, okay, just name a few. Even where institutions like PURA, Public Utility Regulatory Authority, were to be determined to put in place a structure that can, discipline these technocrats, so-called heads of units. It will not be easy, because there is a lobby syndicate, sometimes supported by people who are influencers, who are online talking and all that, who do not even understand what it means when we talk about structures, deficiencies, and the institutions. And an institution cannot be useful without functionality. And functionality becomes vulnerable where there are deficiencies in it. We have to be ready to pinpoint those people. They are the ones who have been destroying governments over and over, starting from the time that the colonialists left. It is the same archaic structures. Those are the very people who will never bring anything innovative. They will keep on repeating the same archaic methodology because it favors them. There is a serious disconnect between the civil service, the service industry, and the commoner, the people at home, in the street, in the market. And those people who are calling themselves technocrats, advisors, experts, some of them, in fact, in certain international organizations, are the ones that keep on pushing our nations and soaking them in the muddy pool of retrogress. So, without changing the culture of the civil service, the culture of these so-called experts, the culture of these so-called boards, particularly boards, board members are handpicked or cherry-picked. It is the same lobby syndicate. They are the very people who go to their own associates, and then in the Gambia in particular, you have the Saturday Añ, the Saturday lunch, where they go to eat and talk, is where they run the affairs of the country. Sometimes the government may think that they are supporting the government, but they don't know they are the very termites and the worms that bring governments down. Look at them. Most of them, any government that comes in, they will find a way to slip through, because I call them the worms of carcasses, the worms of dead bodies. They don't feel the stench. They will always be in it for themselves. That is why it is very difficult to run countries in our parts of the world. System change is not only going to happen because you are targeting the politicians. No, no, no. The system in place is put in place by those very technocrats, so-called technocrats, so-called experts. We need to revisit that service industry. The codes of conduct are clear. We don't need to redo them. The financial instructions are clear. You don't need to redo them. But these people in these offices, heads of governments, government parastatals, heads of projects, permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, directors, managing directors, these are the people who should be put to task. I have observed, other people have observed, only to realize that any discrepancy that happens, they are at the center stage, or they are in the center stage of it. So, who are they loyal to? Job security for them is anything that the president says, they will just follow it through as long as what they need is being achieved. Okay? Now, are we in for need or are we in for necessity? That's why the old adage says, necessity is the mother of invention. If there is no necessity identified in the service that they deliver, then you can never be assured of due diligence. We have to be very serious and look at the activities of these people called technocrats, permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, heads of parastatals, heads of units, okay, heads of finance, procurement officers. These are the people that are choking the nation, particularly the Gambia. There is a connivance always between procurement officers and the accounting officer. The accounting officer in this case is the head of the administration that signed the checks and all that. These are things we need to educate our people. There should be programs on the television to educate the masses for them to understand. And the people who run governments, particularly politicians, sometimes they think that these technocrats are supporting them. You are loyal. No, there is a difference between loyalty and honesty. If you are honest to yourself, you will be honest to the president, and the president also will be honest to you. If you are not honest to yourself, and you are seen as a loyal person, the person you are loyal to, are they also honest? Should you be only loyal to what the president wants, or what the head of government wants, or what the minister wants, or what the nation needs? What is necessary for the nation? Sometimes people don't know. They will say, oh, if you tell them the truth, they will think that you are not in support of them. Then that's fine. Leave the job then with dignity. Let them even fire you with dignity, no problem. There will come a time you will definitely be vindicated by history, and then the masses will come to know who you are. We always pounce on the politicians. Of course, they cannot be exempted because most of them are part of the mess. But there is a serious, what would I say? I wouldn't even say serious, but there is a very close relationship most of the time between these National Assembly members and some of these people who come to present their projects at the National Assembly. They lobby them. Before they come, when you are, even if you are the worst crook, if you come there, they will wash you clean. Because it's not about the national interest. It's more about help me, I help you. Where do you help each other? By depleting national coffers against the interests of the nation. You harm governments. You are the termites of governments. You are the worms of governments. And people will still be pointing fingers at the politicians. Of course, they cannot be exempted because they should also open their eyes to understand no government will succeed, particularly in the Gambia, if the current status quo within the service industry, particularly the civil service, is not shaken, revamped, and cleaned with Dettol. It cannot. Thank you very much. It's your brother, Ambassador Issa Bokarsi.